Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Spooky Chris podcast. I am that aforementioned Spooky Chris. My name is Chris Ringler. I'm an author, artist, podcaster, filmmaker, and all-around odd fellow. And this is my micro podcast. I say micro because generally I try to keep these brief because they can tend to get long-winded if you don't kind of keep an eye on yourself. So you can find all of my podcasts and everything else about me on my website, spookychris.com. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff as well. So usually I have kind of a course set in my mind when I do these. This one I figured I would just kind of let the seas take me where they will. I consider it kind of an odds and ends podcast. So here we go. I had the honor this week to be welcomed to the Michigan State Capitol to be recognized as a Michigan children's author. And it's huge. It's amazing. It's great. It's an honor. It's much like everything else that ever kind of good happens to me. I discount it. I knew one of the folks behind the scenes that was looking for authors, and I just happened to know her. So I feel kind of like a charlatan because I know that there are much better representations of children's authors in Michigan. But hopefully I represented well. I never, when I started writing as a teenager, would have ever imagined I would write anything for kids. I was a teenager, so it's not like I was looking to do that. I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to write and who I was as a writer. So it's strange. It's strange that I've written 4 children's books with a 5th on the way. Again, not something I ever would have planned or expected, but then I never expected to write novels or a fantasy series. So, that's one of the things is with all kind of these arts is you have to be willing to let the seas take you where they will, to use more water metaphors, I guess. And I think that's kind of what keeps it interesting for me, is that I will kind of just see where I end up, instead of just being rigid. I think we all have kind of things that we stick to, whether or not it's like a code or whatever. I will never do this, or I have no interest in this. I think most folks have that for whatever reason. I just, I never expected, but I never, shucks, if you would have told me 20 years ago, I would have written 20 books. I never would have believed it if you told me that. So, surprise is not a new thing for me with all of this. I never intended to write novels, but I've written a handful now. But anyways, getting back to it, myself, my wife, and our daughter went down there, and it was great. It was interesting. Basically, we met our contact and got the lowdown. Went up to the 3rd floor and watched the proceedings, which was fascinating. Here in Michigan, where we just seem to draw crazy like flies, there had been our little mini insurrection at the state capitol in 2020. So we have kind of a lot of anti-maskers and, let's just call them what they are, gun rights nuts. It's kind of like, I will not let you take my right to breathe. And people are like, but we're not taking your right to breathe. But you will not take it because it's my right to breathe. And no one is really taking it. No one's taking their guns. The very thought that we're going to have a Gestapo go door to door and take guns is insane. But whatever. That's another story. So we had that, and our Republicans here, many of them are a little nutty. And so, sitting up in the balcony, we were talking and stuff, and you look, and so the way where we were sitting, the way it was laid out, is to the left were the Democrats, and to the right were the Republicans. They keep each other, keep on their side of the aisle, as it were. And they were just getting out of committee, which is, again, it's all fascinating and it's interesting. It's a shame that we don't learn civics and government hands-on, as it were, because I think it would change how we see things and how we act and whatever. We would be a lot wiser than we are, because we're kind of, our country kind of comes off as rubes at times when it comes to like the quaintness of like elections and such and all of that. But so they were coming out of election, or out of elections. They're coming out of committees. And so what that meant is, so say I want to get a bill passed. I want to get a bill like everyone should be able to learn to read, whatever, something dumb. So then you have to go around and you have to get people to sign on to your bill. So you have to go around, and it's so much like elementary school. Like, you have to go around to people and say, hey, how's it going? What's going on? Blah, blah. Like, this is my bill. Blah, 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 blah. I'm really trying to get this passed. Like, I'd love to have your support. And you have to kind of sell it. And I think that's where you start getting these side deals that we're always, like, all of us that are not in government are shady about. Like, oh, that sounds like a lovely bill. I'd love to help you. Boy, though, I sure could use some support on my bill to fill swimming pools with cheese. I think it's a great bill you got there, but I really need to focus on my bill. It's that kind of a thing where it's like, oh gosh, gee, that sounds great, but I'm going to need you to do something for me. And that's the trouble with our lovely government system of backroom deals and handshakes and all that. Blah. So we're watching that, and it's, again, so the Democrats, and I won't say 100% of them, most of them, the most of them, masked up. Because it is, we in Michigan, we are required to wear masks, and especially in that kind of a situation, very close contact, wear masks. Republicans, literally, I don't know if I saw one Republican wearing a mask. All of them refusing to wear masks during a pandemic. And it was just stark and fascinating seeing that because it was so disrespectful. Because they're all just hanging, literally just hanging around talking, just no masks. Their Democratic colleagues would come up and stuff, and they have masks, and those good old Republicans don't want to wear their masks. And it's just so willful. And it's so, this is truly why the world is the way it is right now in America. And this is not to free the Democrats of responsibility for childishness, because both sides are very, very childish. But the Republicans have taken it to an art, where it's just absolute childish willfulness, like, I'm not going to. I don't believe you. It is my freedom and my right. And we were told, just kind of just to be chill too, like, hey, no flash photography, be chill, because there's guards and stuff watching, former officers, because you can still carry guns there, because the Republicans don't want to give up their guns in the Capitol, despite the fact that we had this kind of mini insurrection there after a major insurrection at the government level, at the national level. Where people had guns in these places, like, we just don't want to give our gun rights up. It's about my rights and my guns. Whatever. So, to get back on track, we sit there and we watch them kind of get their things together, and they're kind of talking and doing their committees and doing their thing. And so we were told we would be kind of the first thing out the gate. Awesome. So we are waiting, and what has to happen is the representative that had started this endeavor wanted to. She's a former teacher, and she wanted to recognize Michigan authors. She thinks March is reading month, and she wanted to kind of do that because she's a former teacher. Super awesome. That's like very cool. So the way it would go is she would raise her hand to get recognized, because she, as wanting to do this, to like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do, blah, blah. So you get recognized, and then you get the floor for a minute. So she does that. And the way it would roll out is she would raise her hand, she would introduce what she's doing. Ideally, the direct representative of where I'm from, Flint, and where this woman that was there as well, who was also a children's author, like our representatives that were directly in our area would, basically tell everyone who we were, have a stand, give a wave, and then later, we'd get photos with them and meet them and all. Well, the woman's representative is a Republican he's the Republican that took a big bus of people to the insurrection, to stop the steal, as it were. So he had and he had been told about this. He had no interest. He had no interest in anything about it. Again, the petulance of this is just astounding. Because it's like, it's nonpartisan. It's kids' books. Like, I get it. You can say, like, well, I want books that have conservative values and this and that. The lady who was there, her book was about farming and growing gardens and stuff. That's kind of used to be the kind of hardcore values of the conservatives back in the day, I guess. I don't know. Had no interest. My rep was there, was going to be a part of it. So the woman that had started all this for us, she raised her hand, takes the floor, and reads the wording. So what they gave us are these very large, I don't know, 11 by 14, framed kind of declarations, just as a tribute to, and has your name on it, and it says everything, all the stuff about you and what you've done, and then it's signed by the reps, and it's got a stamp, and it's super cool. It's very, very cool. And so they read that, and then they say, okay, and now my guest, blah blah, if I can have them stand and get recognized. So the representative that started all this did this for the woman. Stands up, gets recognized. And it's funny because I guess once it was knee deep in it, the Republican guy who had no interest suddenly decided that he wanted to be a part of it. Now that it was basically too late and that he had shrugged it off, hadn't been involved in any part of it otherwise. But now he wanted to be part of it, but it was too late. Because he had waved his hand and he waved at the woman, his constituent, by the way. So someone he serves, and he was just sitting around talking, because I watched him. Just sitting around talking, just chatting it up. And that was the thing. And I won't lay it on exactly on one party or t'other, because I couldn't tell you with 100% certainty that it was one party or t'other. But the disrespect we got is insane. So we're there as guests to be honored. Not a big deal to anybody, but for some folks, for me, I'll never have this happen again. I mean, let's just be honest. Most of us probably won't. Most of us in our lives don't really get recognition or honors. It's just the way the world works. So this is a special kind of thing. I brought my child. This woman brought her mother. It's special. I'm blasé about it because I don't know. I never feel like I earn anything like this. So I'm always weird about it. But it doesn't mean that I'm, this is stupid. I'm not like that at all. I just am like, could someone else have better represented this? So it does mean something. And it's super weird and super disrespectful so they're doing this, and you could not hear at all what my rep was saying about me at all because of the chatter. And it was kind of the same with the woman. There was so much chatter and side talk and just nothing. It wasn't even I absolutely guarantee they weren't even talking about, like, important issues, like, oh, well, we need to do this. No, they were just like, oh, yeah, I went to the bar, and I maggoted it up, or whatever. I went to the fishing boat, because I got a fishing boat, I guess. I don't know. But it's super disturbing and upsetting. Again, to be there as a guest and having this happen, and having someone talk through the ceremony where, my wife even filmed it, and you can't hear anything because they're talking, and that's such a bummer. So they did that. I stood, waved. My wife had wanted me to hold our baby, and I thought about it's funny. I thought about that the day before, but we were on a third level, and I literally I'm so clumsy anymore. I was like, I told her, I'm like, I would be afraid I would drop her. I wouldn't have. But it's a fear, like, just to think, like, what if something were to happen? So I stood, kind of gave a little wave, no big deal. So that was done. We were kind of dismissed, as it were, and we went out, I met with my representative, and we talked for a minute, and she presented the tribute, whatever, to me, the declaration. We took pictures, and it was great. And then the other representative got in, and my wife and daughter got in. We got pictures. And then the woman did her stuff with the representative and her mom, and it was great. So afterwards, we said our goodbyes, and then we're taken to the tourism folks for a tour, and we're given a tour of the whole place. And it was great. It's a beautiful building. It was absolutely fascinating. Great time. It was murder on me because I was carrying the baby, and I mean, she's only 4 months old, but she's 14 pounds, and it was carrying her upstairs, and these are big stairs, and we went to like first floor to third floor, and I still hurt. I'm old. I'm out of shape, and it hurt, and I was scared to death. I'm like, don't drop her, don't drop her, don't drop her. And I wasn't going to drop her, but oh my Lord, that was scary. It scared me to pieces. But it was great. It was a great time. It was nice to have been able to do that. I got kind of in my own head and didn't want to do it. I was just having a day that day and just didn't want to do it. I'm glad I did. And it was cool. It's something neat to remember. Like, I don't really have a lot of things to put on my walls that are like, I did things. That's a cool thing to have on there. So there you go. There's my $3 milkshake. I have watched to switch gears. I have watched 78 movies this year. I think 78, 79. Which that's the glory of working from home, and I've watched a lot like last year, and the year before I was out of work. Last year I was working from home, and this year just because I'm still working from home, got the baby and all. But it's crazy. So I've watched a lot of stuff. Holy cow! Just rewatched The Invisible Man, which is still my favorite horror film of 2020. It's jeez. It's a shame that genre films and genre music aren't better received for as much money as they bring in, for as much influence as they have. I don't know, it's just crazy. If not Avril Lavigne, oh my gosh. I aged myself. If Taylor Swift were to cover a Merciful Fate song, it'd be a number one bestseller. Merciful Fate? Oh! They're weird. Okay. So that's just the way it works. But it's a drag because award shows obsess over dramas and period pieces. They don't care about comedies. They don't care about horror films for sure. Don't care about sci-fi. They're very narrow in focus. It's generally dramas that make you feel very smart and important and like you've done something amazing because you have watched this film about someone struggling with the hardships of life. And it's silly. Gosh, what drives me crazy is I'll watch I used to watch the awards, but like, just even the nominations, and like think of all the horror movies and sci-fi movies also, and maybe one like Star Wars will get a costume nod or a makeup nod, and it's just like, are you kidding me? Oh, but the costumes in the period piece and the old age makeup, dude. They have not even because I know folks that do costumes and all stuff, so not even to diminish costumes, but like there are so many period costumes now that are out there that are in warehouses. You could literally just use those. I know that's not what they do, but you could. It's not like it's something that no one's ever seen on this earth. Unlike sci-fi, which they have to create stuff that no one has ever seen on Earth. And then the makeup stuff, like, oh, but it's a lovely. You really believe he's an old age, and yeah, that's great. But like again, like it just the things that people do in the genre stuff is just blows your mind, and they don't get any recognition. But back to Invisible Man, like it really is such a well-crafted movie, and I remember when it was coming out, and I had zero interest. I was like, this no. And I heard what the subject was going to be, and I was like, no. But they handled it so well. It's so well written. It's wonderfully acted. Elizabeth Moss is fantastic in it. And it's a really good creepy movie. And it's strip away the horror aspects, and it's just a movie about a woman trying to get out of an abusive relationship and not being able to, and no one believes her. But it's fantastic. It's a really well-made movie, and it's a shame. I don't know that I'd say it's up for any. It should have been up for any Oscars, but it's a shame that horror in general doesn't get more credit, considering the actors have to basically like pretend that's a monster, pretend that's a spaceship, pretend it's so much coming strictly from them. It's not as much like, oh, here's a guy in old age makeup and he's pretending to have a limp because he was shot in the war. It's just it's a shame that we diminish it. Much like again, non-mainstream music. Heavy metal music is just it's basically trash heap time, unless it's like Metallica gets they're kind of the popular because they've been around. They're classic rock of metal now. Like they'll get nods, Tool does now, but like for as much music as out there, and that's just because I'm into heavy metal, but like there's so much music. Industrial never ever ever will be recognized, ever. Goth music never ever. If you'll get like The Cure in the Hall of Fame kind of thing, like where that's about as far as they'll go, and it's a drag. It's kind of like. And that's why we have to have so many individual awards. Like everybody gets upset. Why they're blank minority awards? Well, because mainstream awards don't really see beyond themselves. Because there's all this stuff coming out, and people just don't want to see anything but themselves. That's why. So it's a drag. It's a drag because there's such great stuff out there, such great work that doesn't get recognized. And, music that doesn't get, heard. The albums, the two of the most recent albums I bought were I'm trying to think of the one, Orbit Culture, and then I bought the newest Fiona Apple. Both great records. Absolutely diametrically opposed to one another, but they're great records. But that's how it should be. Is we should always be kind of into other stuff. I never would have thought I'd like Billie Eilish. Love her. She's absolutely great. But I also, just bought a band. Bands. It was funny because I was looking them up. I heard them on the radio on XM, and I'm like, oh, I gotta have that. They don't have a CD out. They only have vinyl. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I kept having to just search, and I finally found a digital download. It's a band called God's Hate, so I just got that, and it sounds like it's going to be really good, so I'm excited, but it's a shame that we don't want to, we'll go as far as like, oh, I don't mind that there's kind of some hip-hop in my country, or, oh, I don't mind that pop song's got like a funky, like kind of a chunky riff to it. Like we don't give the full spectrum our attention, and it's a drag. And this is just how we are, but it's a drag. And lately, my recent watching has fallen to trying to catch up and remind myself a little bit, like on the way to the Snyder cut of Justice League, which, I mean, I'm going to say I liked Justice League when it came out. I don't think it would have been easy to take on that project from someone and then try to like make something that's yours out of it, you know. But I enjoyed that movie, so I'm curious what this version's going to be. But I liked what Zack Snyder was doing with his little dark universe, because we've seen everything else. Like we've seen, and I you know, and I get it. People want like the boy in blue and the kind of good guy. But we've seen that. Christopher Reeve was, in the first two Superman movies, fantastic. I remember seeing the third, and I literally blocked it from my memory. And never watched the third or the fourth. Never bothered. So there's no taking that from him, from us. But you need different interpretations. You need different kind of views. You need to kind of see what else is out there. Because Superman, the character is... There's more to him than just that. There's more to all of us than just one thing. And if you're going to keep doing things with the property, you should just tell different stories. So I have no problem with him telling darker stories. Given time, I think Superman he was leading towards would have been a lighter character, but you got to get there. I like Man of Steel. You know, it's too fast paced. You don't really get a chance to get to like kind of hang out and meet anybody. It's very much like action, talk, action. It's really good. I don't have a problem with Superman killing someone because he didn't want to. He was given no choice. So we have these crazy like, well, he can't do that and he doesn't do that. I get it. I think Zack Snyder got it, but he also got that sometimes you have to make a choice that you don't want to make. It's, you know, the lesser of two evils kind of a deal. It doesn't mean you want to do it, but sometimes you'll have a choice. Pardon my throat clearing. But I liked it. Like I say, it has its flaws for sure. And you know, like a big chunk of it is that it's set at so fast of a pace, and it's still a long movie. You know, I would have liked to have known, like, I think there's ways to do the Superman, at least young story, where he's kind of learning his powers and stuff. That doesn't take a whole movie, but that is kind of gives you a slower kind of means into things. I'm started rewatching Batman versus Superman. I really liked that. I think it's my biggest sin I have for it is the way they did Jimmy Olsen. It seems like, kind of like Alien 3, like as a character he didn't want to be saddled with, but he wanted to make reference to, kind of like Hicks and Newt from Alien 3. Like, David Fincher didn't want to have anything to do with them. He didn't care about them. So he showed their bodies because they were there, but they died. So I think they did him dirty. It's packing so much stuff into the movie that it's hard, but I still do like it. I like what he was trying to do with things. Not perfect. Much like every other filmmaker, he gets stuck in his kind of weird filmmaker fetishy things, like not, you know, just like his things he does. But you know, I enjoy the movies. And I get that if people don't like them, absolutely get it. But it's weird how angry and hateful folks get about movies, about that stuff. It's weird. I just we forget that movies are movies, and we get all up in ourselves, and it's like we know best. So it's something. It's something. I don't know. Fans are something else. It's weird, and it's interesting how people still are desperate to become famous and And now it's Instagram famous, but like, and they want that fame because they want everything that goes with it, not realizing that there's so much baggage that comes with it as well. And just figuring like, oh, well, I can pay my way out of the baggage, I don't care. And it's like, it's going to get you one way or t'other. And we are a culture that loves to destroy our gods, even people-shaped ones. So, I don't know. I would certainly love to write for a living, but I I could probably live without being famous if it came with all the drama. So that's my odd, that's my end. I hope you, friend, are doing well. I'm gonna dive back into Batman, Superman, and try to get through that behemoth so I can look towards the future in Justice League. You stay safe. We are still in a pandemic. We're getting closer to normality. Normalcy. Sorry, I'm a writer, but we're still a ways away. It's been a year since my wife and I started the whole endeavor and having our baby. So it's weird. Time moves so fast and so slow at the same time. It's a trip. But you stay safe, friend, and I will talk to you soon. You can find my stuff at spookychris.com. I am here. I will talk to you soon. Bye.